The fluorescent lights of New York's LaGuardia Airport buzzed overhead as passengers shuffled through Gate C-12, their voices a cacophony of exhaustion and anticipation. At the center of the chaos stood Karen Whitmore, a woman whose designer sunglasses and venom-red manicure screamed entitlement. She clutched her boarding pass like a royal decree, glaring at the economy line snaking toward the plane. "Unbelievable," she muttered, adjusting her Louis Vuitton tote. "I paid extra for priority boarding." Inside the cramped cabin of Horizon Airways Flight 227, Jamal Carter bounced slightly in his window seat, his neon green sneakers, tapping the underside of 12A. At 10 years old, this was his first solo trip, a big kid adventure, as his dad had called it, to visit his grandparents in Los Angeles. His backpack bulged with snacks, a dog-eared comic book, and a Nintendo Switch he'd promised to share with the person sitting next to him. The middle seat, 12B, sat empty, a temporary reprieve from the pre-takeoff bustle. Karen's voice sliced through the hum of settling passengers as she halted at row 12. Her gaze locked onto Jamal, then darted to the vacant seat beside him. "Excuse me," she barked at a passing flight attendant, her tone sharp enough to draw stares. "I need to be reseated." Immediately, flight attendant Emily Nguyen, her pinned smile unwavering, glanced at the manifest. "I'm afraid the flight is fully booked, ma'am, but I'll check for any... Do I look like I'm asking for a check?" Karen snapped, gesturing to Jamal. Her voice dripped with performative concern. "I don't feel safe here. Surely you can find a more suitable arrangement." Jamal's grin faltered. He sank back, fingers tightening around his armrest. Across the aisle, a college student lowered her earbuds, eyes narrowing. Emily stiffened. "Ma'am, all our passengers are entitled to respect. If you'd like, I can speak to the captain about your concerns." "Respect?" Karen laughed, a brittle sound. "Respect is earning the right to sit where you please, not being trapped next to." She trailed off, her meaning as clear as the diamond studs in her ears. Jamal's throat tightened. He fumbled for his phone, typing a shaky text to his dad. "Some lady doesn't want to sit by me. It's okay, though." In first class, Marcus Carter glanced up from a stack of merger proposals, his gold cufflinks glinting under the cabin lights. At 42, he carried himself with the quiet command of a man who'd turned a regional airline into a billion-dollar empire. His brow furrowed as he read Jamal's message, then pivoted toward the commotion in economy. By the time Marcus arrived, Karen's tirade had crescendoed. "Disgusting negligence. I'll have your job," she seethed at Emily, who now stood rigid, her professionalism fraying. "Is there a problem?" Marcus's baritone voice cut through the tension. Karen whirled, taking in his tailored suit and Rolex with a flicker of recognition. Wealth, but not the kind she could intimidate. "Finally, someone with authority," she said, smirking. "This child's presence is unacceptable. I demand a new seat." Marcus crouched to meet Jamal's eyes. "You all right, champ?" Jamal nodded, but his lower lip trembled. Straightening, Marcus turned to Karen, his calmness volcanic. "This child is my son, and you're harassing him." Karen paled, then rallied. "Harassing? I'm a paying customer. I have rights." "So does he," Marcus said, softer now, a blade sheathed in silk. He plucked the boarding pass from her hand. "Karen Whitmore, seat 12B. You can't possibly expect me to stay here," she hissed. Marcus smiled, a cold, razor-edged thing. "Oh, you won't be staying anywhere on this plane." As Karen sputtered, Marcus nodded to Emily. "Escort Ms. Whitmore to the gate. Her journey ends here." A ripple of applause broke out as Karen was led away, her protests fading into the jet bridge. Marcus slid into the middle seat, draping an arm around Jamal. "How about I tag along to L.A., huh? Grandpa understand. Jamal grinned, relief flooding his face. Can we play Mario Kart? Above them, the seatbelt sign blinked on. Somewhere in first class, a phone began to ring, calls from HR Legal PR, but Marcus silenced it. For now, the only sky that mattered was the one outside his son's window. The cabin hummed with a charged silence as Flight 227 ascended, the weight of the confrontation lingering like turbulence. Marcus Carter settled into seat 12B, his broad shoulder brushing Jamal's as the boy stared out the window, the glow of his Nintendo Switch dimmed in his lap. "You did nothing wrong, you know," Marcus murmured, squeezing his son's hand. Jamal nodded, but his usual chatter had dissolved into quiet. Above them, a dozen phones buzzed stealthily, screens lit with footage already leaking into the digital ether. By the time the plane touched down in Los Angeles, #Plane Prejudice was trending. A grainy video capturing Karen's sneer, Marcus's icy authority, Jamal's shrinking posture, had amassed 500,000 views. Comments erupted, "Cancel that witch," and "CEO for president." Memes dubbed Karen Middle Seat Medusa, her face photoshopped beside flight safety manuals titled "How to Crash Your Life in 10 Minutes." Marcus's assistant, Lena, greeted him at the gate with a tablet and a grimace. HR's flooded with demands to fire Karen Whitmore. She's a regional manager at Brighthold Bank. Her voice dropped. They've already suspended her. And her husband's filed for divorce? Noted, Marcus said, steering Jamal away from the clamor. His son's eyes widened at the airport TVs flashing his own face. "Dad, am I in trouble?" Marcus knelt, grounding himself in Jamal's worried gaze. The only people in trouble are those who choose hate over humanity. At dawn, Marcus stood before Horizon's board, his proposal succinct, the Seat 12B initiative. A zero-tolerance policy for discrimination, paired with free flights for youth outreach programs. "We're not just an airline," he declared. "We're the first mile of someone's journey. Every journey." The vote passed unanimously. Meanwhile, Karen's Park Avenue condo echoed with silence. Eviction notices piled up. Her Instagram, once a curated gallery of brunches and beach vacations, flooded with venom. "Hope your designer heels walk you into obscurity," one post read. By noon, her lawyer's number flashed on her screen. Horizon was suing for defamation and emotional distress. She poured a third glass of Pinot Noir, her reflection in the window fractured by the city's skyline. Back in LA, Marcus tucked Jamal into bed, the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling mirroring the ones outside the plane. "Grandpa said I was brave," Jamal whispered. "You were," Marcus said, "braver than me." As his son slept, Marcus scrolled through the initiative's launch plans. Lena had drafted a press release, but he deleted the corporate jargon, typing instead, "No one climbs into the clouds, only to carry prejudice. We rise above, or we don't rise at all." His phone buzzed, a notification from Horizon's Twitter. A photo of Jamal, grinning in seat 12A, captioned, "Meet our youngest ambassador. The future has a window seat." Marcus smiled. Somewhere he knew another Karen was boarding a plane. Another Jamal was finding his voice. 6 months later, Jamal Carter stood at Gate B7 of LAX, his neon green sneakers replaced by polished black ones, his posture a little taller. The lanyard around his neck read, "Seat 12B Youth Ambassador" in bold letters. Behind him a billboard loomed, a Horizon Airways ad featuring Jamal's grinning face beside the tagline, "The future flies with everyone." "Nervous?" Marcus asked, adjusting his son's lanyard. "Nope," Jamal lied, eyeing the swarm of passengers. This wasn't just another flight. It was the inaugural journey of Horizon's revamped diversity training program. Crews from 6 airlines would shadow Jamal and Marcus, learning to dismantle bias at 30,000 feet. As they boarded, a woman in row 15 stiffened, her gaze darting between Jamal and the empty seat beside him. Clara, a middle-aged teacher from Omaha, gripped her ticket for 15B. That's him, she thought, recalling the viral video. She'd argued with her book club about it. The boy's a hero, versus Karen wasn't all wrong. Now, fate had plopped her next to the seat, 12B kid. Clara hesitated, her stomach churning. Then, with a deep breath, she sat down. "Hi!" Jamal beamed, holding up a Nintendo Switch. "Want to play?" In a Brooklyn courthouse, Karen Whitmore's Louboutins clicked against marble as she faced Horizon's legal team. Her lawyer had begged her to settle. She refused. "I'm the victim here," she'd hissed. But the jury's stony expressions mirrored the judge's as Marcus's testimony played. Prejudice isn't an opinion. It's a violation of the contract we all sign as human beings. The verdict took 8 minutes. Karen was ordered to pay $500,000 in damages and complete 300 hours of anti-racism education. Outside, reporters mobbed her. "Any remorse?" one shouted. Karen opened her mouth. "They'll finally hear my side," but froze. Above her, a Horizon plane soared, its contrail slicing through the clouds like a scalpel. At 35,000 feet, Marcus watched Jamal teach Clara how to drift in Mario Kart. The cabin buzzed with trainees scribbling notes, but Jamal's laughter cut through the formality. "He's a natural," whispered Elena, a veteran flight attendant. "Kids like him, they force us to see the world as it should be." Marcus nodded, or as it could be. The Seat 12B initiative had already funded 2,000 youth flights and rewritten federal anti-discrimination guidelines. But Marcus's real victory was quieter. Jamal's nightmares had stopped. As the plane descended, Clara turned to Jamal. "I almost didn't sit here," she admitted. "Old habits, you know." Jamal shrugged. "My dad says habits are just choices we keep making." Clara blinked back tears. "Tell your dad he's raising a damn good philosopher." That evening, Marcus and Jamal stood on a Phoenix tarmac, the desert wind warm and thick. A group of Navajo teens clambered from Horizon Plain, their eyes wide as Marcus handed them each a switch. "Your turn to be ambassadors," he said. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jamal tugged his father's sleeve. "What if people forget? What if Karen happens again?" Marcus knelt, the sky behind him streaked with gold. "Then we remind them, as many times as it takes." Somewhere over the Atlantic, Horizon flight hit patchy turbulence. In Seat 12B, a white-knuckled businessman glanced at his neighbor, a black teen in a hoodie, and offered a shaky smile. "You ever play Mario Kart?" The teen grinned. "Only if you're ready to lose." Above them, the seatbelt sign flickered off. The skies, he thought, were finally clearing.